Hi, welcome back to Anthropology 175. We are on Wesch Lesson 8, Globalization. Last week we did, I think, 6, infrastructure, or maybe it was 5. We'll figure it out. Infrastructure last week, and now we're on globalization. We're skipping ahead, but we're just basically infrastructure part 2. It says our failure to move beyond such a narcissistic view has led to the tragedy of our times that we are more connected than ever, yet feel and act more and more disconnected. So the tragedy of our times involves the commodity cycle. The commodity cycle involves extraction, assembly, shipping, consumption, waste disposal, which is more shipping and more consumption, and then extraction from the waste. It's a terribly complicated cycle because so many people have their hands on the things so often. If you can imagine this pen, which is made out of plastic, and where does plastic come from? Plastic comes from um, the ground. Plastic is from oil, and not just any kind of oil, but light sweet crude, which is mined in the North Sea, Brent crude, and also Bonny crude in the Nigeria. So a worker in Nigeria on an oil derrick pulled that oil out of the ground and put it on a ship, and another worker took it onto the ship and took that ship across probably New Orleans, docked it there, unloaded it. It went to one of those chemical factories in the Mississippi Valley there. They have to crack it and then spin it, and they get these filaments of plastic out of a relatively tiny amount of light sweet crude, and then it's probably processed further, maybe in Indiana or Chicago area, into these pellets. Then the pellets are put back on the Mississippi. Goodness, let's get a map up here. Mississippi will get us there because we're going down the river. So you're back on the river. Come on. There we go. You're coming out of Nigeria, out of here. Going across, you're going up, turn into pellets, bring it back down into the Gulf of Mexico, take it across through the Panama Canal, take it over to, I don't know, South Korea or the Philippines or something like that, where the plastic is formed into the shape it looks like here, and then those plastic shapes come from Malaysia or wherever into China, and it's assembled into this pen. And then it's put back on a ship. Each time it hits a dock, it's got dock workers, it's got truckers taking it around, trained people. They take it across to the port of Los Angeles, um, unload it there. It's put on a train. It's taken across to some distribution center, probably in Indianapolis, which is sort of a crossroads, and then it heads down to Cincinnati, to the Walmart or Staples, or wherever we got this from. This Sharpie here. And so it's been touched. It's been touched by many different people. If we got it at Walmart, though, we didn't even have a checkout person check it out. We just swiped it ourselves and walked away. Very often, that's what happens. So there are thousands of people who are involved in the making of this pen across the entire world, and we never learn their names. If you look at the button that I got here on my shirt, that button was sewn on by someone in Malaysia, Indonesia, or Sri Lanka. Someone who's very proud of their work. They make those seams so straight. It's really hard, very demanding labor, and they're proud of it. And I wear it right next to my neck every day. And it's a very intimate relationship that I have with the commodity that was created by someone whose name I'll never know. And this is the world we live in, where people are connected by the dollar, and things are connected by people. Commodity fetishism, Karl Marx says, a commodity appears as if by magic, obscuring all the human hands that made it. We have social relationships between commodities. This shirt was touched by those people. The shirt, the thread, and the button were all made in 3 different places, and they were all brought together. And so the shirt, the button, and the thread touch each other. But the worker who made the thread, and the worker who made the button, and the worker who made the cloth, are not known by the worker who made the shirt, and none of them are known by me who wears it every day. So we have social relationships between commodities, material relationships between workers. Think of every single relationship you currently have with another person. Which ones don't involve money? Very, very few, right? Why are you in the classroom next to the person next to you? You're both paying tuition to Miami. Why am I standing there talking to you? I'm also getting paid by Miami. You know, oh no, you have a friend. You have a friend. How'd you make that friend? Coworker, both getting paid by the same person. No, I have another friend, a neighbor. Uh, neighbor, both paying rent to the same landlord. Uh, it's very, very, or both, bought property from originally the same person owned the same farmer owned the whole plot, and they sold it off to multiple different people, and you ended up paying your money to one person who had bought it from the farmer back when, and your neighbor bought the same piece of land bought a neighboring piece of land from the same landowner. So, which ones don't involve money? Usually, family relationships. Sometimes church. Sometimes political party or civic organization. These are key relationships when we have them that they don't involve getting paid or paying out. Redefining power. Mahatma Gandhi had no official power. He never held public office, but he used nonviolent resistance to change the world. So there are ways to change the world without looking to money, and those are the really powerful ones. He was born in British India, worked as a lawyer in South Africa where he observed the apartheid racism. He returned to India to organize boycotts, non-cooperation, public protests, and other non-violent methods, what he called ahimsa, in Hindi, turning the other cheek. He said that all people and all things are worthy of dignity and respect, and he argued in favor of satyagraha, holding firmly to the truth, the force of which is born of truth and love. So this is the force. The force which is born of truth and love is called satyagraha. It's a different kind of power. So we have different kinds of power in everyday life as well. We have coercion, persuasion, and we have structure. We have hard power, coercive force. You point a gun at someone and say, do it, or you threaten to hit them, or you threaten to make them lose their job, fire them, or whatever. And that's coercive. Then there's soft power, persuasive. You can you should be trying to persuade people by the force of your argument. You force people because you just keep after them, um, arguing with them, and eventually they say, "Fine, I agree with you. I think you're right after all," and then they do it, and that's much easier than using hard power. But exercising hard power without good reason, when you haven't explained it to them, makes a powerful company lose its soft power. Structural power is the third kind of power. That's power embedded in the structure of economic, geographic, and political relationships. Being able to structure the possible field of action of others is incredibly powerful. For example, we're working on an election year right now, and what is happening as we speak is the primary season. So in Ohio, that primary got delayed, but basically what happens is during that primary, you figure out who the candidates are going to be, and that's basically as good as saying it's going to be either this person or that person. So if you don't vote in the primary, you have no real control over who gets elected. I mean, yeah, you can still vote X or Y, but you couldn't vote, Q or Z or B because those were already eliminated back in March or April. November is not the election. November is just a formality. So that's structural power, ability to structure the possible field of action of others. Yali's question was, why are some countries so rich and others so poor? Jared Diamond had a solution for this. He said that the Europeans had better guns, just because of hundreds of years of trying to kill each other. Resistance to powerful germs, and that was because they were on the same latitude as China. So we've got China over here, and you've got Germany and England and France over here, and so you've got basically the continuous ecosystem carrying the germs from China, where it's an ancient site of civilization. It's where a lot of technology is coming from for thousands of years. Um, and once once those germs spread across from Asia to Europe, then that helps with the resistance. And they had animal power. They knew how to use horses and donkeys and that sort of thing, and this increased the efficiency of their labor and led to them becoming very rich very quickly, especially with when they became the first uh, uh, people to um, come to the Americas with this higher, more effective military technology. Also, they had geographic proximity to China. That's where we're talking about technological innovations in the same latitude, along with animal power. Innovation leads to food surpluses, leads to population growth, leads to stratified society, leads to division of labor, which leads to more innovation. So it's a cycle. Once it gets started, it can be very effective. Germs, 95% of indigenous deaths in the Americas were due to diseases. Let's stop here and pick it up with the world systems when we come back.